Robyn. Robyn, why don't you give us your name and your title and your cancer diagnosis?
Sure. My name is Robyn Towt, and I'm from Gilbert, Arizona. And I am the founder of GPAC, Global Patient Advocacy Coalition. And I co-founded it with my fellow advocate and best friend, Terry Diaz. She lives in Florida. And it was interesting how we met because I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017. And at that point in my life, I was 44 years old and I had already had cancer twice before. So I was just kind of looking to get through the experience as quickly and easily as possible. I had stage 1 breast cancer, so it hadn't spread anywhere. So I chose to do a double mastectomy, which was a pretty radical decision based on the size of my tumor, which was very small and the cancer hadn't metastasized. So I felt that making that decision, that surgical choice, was an aggressive form of, getting rid of my cancer. As you know, as a cancer patient, you have an entire team of doctors who looks after you. So I had an oncologist, a breast surgeon, a plastic surgeon, nutrition specialist, and nobody told me that having reconstruction with breast implants could make me really sick, or that women were having problems with breast implants. And I was basically kind of pitched that this is what you do as a breast cancer patient after mastectomy. You have reconstruction and it's easy and FDA approved and safe and all the things. So I did it. But what's interesting is because I made such a radical surgical decision for my breast cancer, I chose to opt out of doing any chemo or radiation or hormone blockers. So I only had surgery, and most breast cancer patients typically have surgery and chemotherapy, or surgery, chemo, and radiation, or combination of any of those. So when I started getting sick, I was really just stumped at why I was having all these symptoms, because I didn't have treatment. So it was very difficult for me to understand why I went from walking 5 to 7 miles a day when I had breast cancer and felt great to I couldn't even walk to my mailbox. So I started joining some breast cancer forums online, and I was searching for answers, and I was asking other breast cancer patients, what they were doing about symptoms like chronic fatigue, insomnia, which I had never had my whole life, even when I had pregnancies and babies. I was having heart palpitations, anxiety, rashes, my hair was falling out, my eyelashes were falling out, my eyes were red all the time. I was having difficulty breathing. It felt like I was breathing through a straw. So I had gone back to my doctor. I told her the problems that I was having. She put me in physical therapy. She prescribed pain medication, muscle relaxers, sleeping pills. And it just didn't, none of it felt right. I'm like, this is not what's supposed to be going on. But all these women that I was talking to in these forums were blaming all their symptoms on chemo and radiation. And then I'm left scratching my head like, I didn't have chemo, I didn't have radiation. So one woman she left me a very quick message and said, look into your breast implants and check out something called breast implant illness. So I did. And it opened up a whole new world of what even is this? I found out there were all these online support groups with hundreds of thousands of women collectively looking for support. So it made sense to me because I couldn't think of any other reason that I was that ill besides maybe my cancer coming back. And I was for a hot minute worried about that. Because I had chronic headaches and migraines too. So I thought, the cancer is spreading to my brain. The cancer is coming out of my skin. Like I just thought it was everywhere. So I started researching breast implant illness, and that made sense to me. So after only having my implants for 4 months, I had them removed.
Wow.
And after having them removed, I felt great. I felt like I feel today, like right away. So, it was kind of a roller coaster of emotions, which typically the whole cancer journey is a roller coaster of emotions. But I was elated that I felt good again. And I felt like a normal human being, not like a 110-year-old woman on her deathbed. But then I was really confused and shocked and horrified that this happened to me. And it just hit me really hard that if this happened to me, how many other breast cancer patients is this happening to? So, I started joining the online support groups for breast implant illness. I went to the FDA a couple times and shared my testimony there. And that's when I just started my advocacy journey and really started diving into the research of how this happened, not only to me, but hundreds of thousands of other women. And it turns out, these products were taken off the market in the 90s for over a decade. And they were put back on the market by the FDA, but I went back and literally read every page of transcripts from every meeting where they talked about, should we be putting these back on the market or not? And there's nothing there that proves they're safe. So it was really irresponsible for the FDA to bring a product back to market that was taken off the market for being dangerous, causing autoimmune illnesses, women to be sick. So the more I researched, the more corruption I uncovered, and it was just really eye-opening and frustrating to me. And I'm just kind of one of those people that I see that injustice, and I'm a Libra, so we have the scales of balance, and I just felt like, that there needs to be justice here. So I just started advocating. I started looking at different avenues where I could make a difference. And one of the biggest projects that I worked on was here in the state of Arizona where I lived. I met with some of my local lawmakers and asked them if this is something that they could do. Like, could we pass a law that mandates doctors to tell patients this information, because it's such important information for people to be able to make an informed and educated decision. When I was considering chemotherapy, they had me meet with the chemo nurse, and she went over an entire binder of information with me on each drug they wanted to use on me, what the side effects were. I mean, they had it listed. So, that's what informed consent is, right? It's a process where doctors are supposed to tell patients everything, not only the benefits, like, yes, this can kill your cancer, but it can cause these problems later on. I was also never given the patient information booklet that every patient, per the FDA, with their approval agreements with the breast implant manufacturers, the FDA has told the breast implant manufacturers that they need to give one of these to every patient. And I didn't get one. And I actually did a survey. Over 5,000 women responded to the survey, and like 86% of women never received the patient information booklet. So
wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I started realizing there's this huge communication breakdown. And I started talking to a lot of plastic surgeons here where I live in Arizona, and also globally, actually worldwide and nationwide. And I started figuring out that the surgeons were all telling me the same story. Yeah, when breast implants, the silicone ones were the ones that were banned. And they started telling me that when they were put back on the market, the manufacturer would send a big shipment of implants, and there would be, 50 to 100 of these booklets in every box, and they were giving them out to patients. And over the years, it just stopped. Like, they would get a whole shipment of breast implants, and there would be maybe 1 or 2 pamphlets.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
not enough. Yeah, it's not enough for every patient. And so they just kind of, I guess, it happened gradually, I'm sure, but so that was a very interesting dynamic. And I just thought this needs to change. There needs to be a new process, a new standard of care, new rules in place that, surgeons have to give this to the patients. The manufacturer has to give it to the surgeons, and just the whole chain of command. So that was pretty much my mission. And I met with local legislators and asked if we could do something about this. And they said, absolutely. So a group of us women, there were 4 of us here in Arizona, had several meetings with our lawmakers, just kind of shared our story. And they're all kind of the same, but a little bit different. And they jumped on board. And it was an amazing process, because we not only worked with state legislators, but we worked with our state plastic surgery society. And we all learned a lot from each other. I mean, really just getting all the stakeholders together at the same table and having collaborative discussions about what can we do to fix this? What can we do to make the patient experience better? And really enhance the standard of care. So I'm really proud and honored that we got our bill passed and signed into law, and it went into effect January 1st, 2022. So every surgeon that is performing breast implant surgery in my state has to not only give the patient the information from the manufacturer, but also a checklist, a patient checklist that we created. And we worked really hard on it over the last few years. It's something that I took a couple of months to type up before my second FDA testimony, which was a 2-day hearing in Washington, D.C. And I brought it with me there, passed it out to some people. Some different groups have been working on different versions of this checklist. And then recently, our GPAC team partnered with the American Society of Plastic Surgeons last year and worked on it over several months and came up with consensus language that we all agree upon. And we're actually trying to get the FDA to adopt that right now as well. So it's been a very rewarding process to know that patients that are going through the same diagnosis and experience that I went through will at least have the opportunity to be informed and make an educated decision about how they want to proceed with their cancer journey. Because as you know, it's a wild ride. So it's a tough thing to navigate, but we need to be armed with all that information because knowledge is power, and it makes a difference.
So. Wow. Well, you are doing amazing things.
That's
awesome. Congratulations on everything that you're doing. That's amazing. So one question I have would be, if you could put into a sentence what your gray area within the cancer journey is, what would you say the gray area is for you?
For me, the gray area was, excuse me, that there needs to be better communication between the medical community and patients. And patients need to know how to advocate for themselves. And it's really difficult sometimes to know the right questions to ask. Resources should be available for patients to be able to reach out to people who have been through it, or a certified patient advocate, and just improve that doctor-patient relationship and the communication. Because 99% of the women that I work with and talk to that have gone through the same journey as me, whether it was for breast cancer or breast augmentation, they all say the same things, that they were not told, the information was not shared with them. And I think we just need to improve the communication.
So how do you think we can bring patient advocacy to the medical field, like within cancer? Say if you're diagnosed with cancer, how much of a difference do you feel a patient advocate would make? And how do you feel we could bring a patient advocate into your cancer journey?
That is a great question. And I have a personal example that just happened. A group of us advocates attended the American Society of Plastic Surgery annual meeting that they have. We've done it 3 years in a row now. And at the last meeting in October, we met a man who is a plastic surgeon from San Diego. And we had a great conversation with him. And in talking to him, we all had this amazing realization. He shared with us that in his practice, he realized that the things he felt as a physician were important for patients to know before having, breast augmentation or breast reconstruction surgery. He said the top 3 things that he thought patients should know were not even in the list of the top 10 that patients said they wanted to know.
Wow.
And we all had this light bulb go off, and it was a light bulb moment, and therein lies the problem, right?
Yeah.
So how do you bridge that information gap? And this man is a wonderful doctor. It's just, I think patients think on a different level than physicians do. So to answer your question, one of the wonderful things that we're seeing happening with the medical community is they are actually inviting patient participation into not only their annual meetings and their medical conferences, but their societies. So for example, I'm a member of the American Society of Breast Surgeons. And so basically when you're a breast cancer patient, first you see a breast surgeon. That's typically the surgeon who will perform a mastectomy. And it's the plastic surgeons who perform the reconstruction. So I'm a paid society member of the American Society of Breast Surgeons. And I think it's wonderful because we're allowed to attend their annual conferences. We're allowed to see, the presentations that are going on there. We're allowed to have dialogue and sit down at roundtable discussions with physicians and give them our perspective of the cancer journey. So we're seeing that more and more with the medical community in general. So I'm going to a couple conferences just in the next couple months coming up. And we have also been invited back, like I said, 3 years in a row now to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. And in October, I was invited to be a guest speaker on one of their panel discussions. So we've also been working closely with the FDA. We're on a couple committees, not only with the Plastic Surgeon Society, but the FDA as well. So I really think in the 5 years that I've been a patient advocate, that's where I've seen the most progress, is when the FDA, the medical societies, the medical boards invite patients in to give their perspective of whether it's a chronic illness or a cancer diagnosis or whatever it may be. And really that's where the magic happens. I kind of say it a lot. It's one of my token phrases, but when everyone sits down at the same table together and has a collaborative discussion about things, that's where you learn the most. And when we know better, we do better.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, so that was a great question because we are seeing that more and more. One of the conferences that I'm going to next month in Las Vegas for the first time, I think the organization is like 47 years old, and they're having a Survivor Summit, which is a 2-day event. And they're just trying to include the patients more in the process. So I think that's wonderful progress that we're seeing. Hope to see more of it, and I'm always happy to be a part of it. So
that's great. That's amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me and letting everyone hear your story. I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate everything that you're doing, and I thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to be doing this because I feel like doctors learn how to treat cancer. So for a doctor, you are a patient. But for the patient, you are a person. And I always say, cancer doesn't just come and take over your life. Cancer gets added on to everything you have and then takes over your life. So doctors can treat you, but there's so much stuff going on. You leave the doctor's office and you have kids, or you have to eat, or your car needs to be fixed, and you have laundry and a house to take care of, or rent, or you have there's so many things. So by including patient advocacy or people who have gone through it, we can really, truly make change. And that's how I feel. And that's why I want to start this. There's so many gray areas within the world of cancer. I feel like if we bring them to light, they won't be gray anymore, and maybe we can make change.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's a great way to look at it. And I think it does help especially patients that are newly diagnosed, to talk to survivors like you and like me that have been through it, because I think it helps to know that someone understands and that they've been through it. And a lot of times, sometimes you just need to see the people that are on the other side, because it helps bring them hope, that, okay, I know cancer sucks and treatment sucks and the whole journey, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is hope, and there is a whole network of people out there to help you through it. Because I think one of the biggest gray areas for people too is that people don't understand unless they've actually been through it. Even our closest family members, our parents, our spouses, our children, I mean, they're living it with us, but even those that are closest to us, they don't know what to say, or they might be fearful to say something and have conversations that might be hard. So when you talk to other survivors who have been through what we've been through, it definitely kind of softens the blow and makes you feel hopeful that you have a support system there. And like you said, just let's wash away those gray areas and keep lines of communication open. And I think it's the best thing that we can do for each other, for the medical community to do for patients, and just improve the overall standard of care. So thank you for what you're doing and bringing awareness to this and helping others.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome.